ELRIC of Melnibonée by Michael Moorcock. Chapter 1. It is the colour of a bleached skull, his flesh, and the long hair which flows below his shoulders is milk white. From the tapering, beautiful head stare two slanting eyes, crimson and moody, and from the loose sleeves of his yellow gown emerge two slender hands, also the colour of bone, resting on each arm of a seat which has been carved from a single massive ruby. The crimson eyes are troubled, and sometimes one hand will rise to finger the light helm which sits upon the white locks, a helm made from some dark greenish alloy and exquisitely moulded into the likeness of a dragon about to take wing. And on the hand which absently caresses the crown there is a ring, in which is set a single rare actorious stone, whose core sometimes shifts sluggishly and reshapes itself, as if it were sentient smoke, and as restless in its jewelled prison as the young albino on his ruby throne. He looks down the long flight of quartz steps to where his court disports itself, dancing with such delicacy and whispering grace that it might be a court of ghosts. Mentally, he debates moral issues, and in itself this activity divides him from the great majority of his subjects, for these people are not human. These are the people of Melnibonée, the Dragon Isle, which ruled the world for 10,000 years and has ceased to rule it for less than 500 years. And they are cruel and clever, and to them morality means little more than a proper respect for the traditions of 100 centuries. To the young man, 428th in direct line of descent from the first sorcerer emperor of Melnibonée, their assumptions seem not only arrogant but foolish. It is plain that the Dragon Isle has lost most of her power and will soon be threatened, in another century or two, by a direct conflict with the emerging human nations whom they call, somewhat patronizingly, the Young Kingdoms. Already pirate fleets have made unsuccessful attacks on Imrir the Beautiful, the dreaming city, capital of the Dragon Isle of Melnibonée. Yet even the Emperor's closest friends refuse to discuss the prospect of Melniboné's fall. They are not pleased when he mentions the idea, considering his remarks not only unthinkable, but also a singular breach of good taste. So, alone, the Emperor broods. He mourns that his father, Sadric the 86th, did not sire more children, for then a more suitable monarch might have been available to take his place on the ruby throne. Sadric has been dead a year, seeming to whisper glad welcome to that which came to claim his soul. Through most of his life, Sadric had never known another woman than his wife, for the Empress had died bringing her sole thin-blooded issue into the world. But, with Melnibonéan emotions, oddly different from those of the human newcomers, Sadric had loved his wife, and had been unable to find pleasure in any other company, even that of the son who had killed her, and who was all that was left of her. By magic potions and the chanting of runes, by rare herbs had her son been nurtured, his strength sustained artificially by every art known to the sorcerer kings of Melnibonée. And he had lived, still lives, thanks to sorcery alone, for he is naturally lassitudinous, and without his drugs would barely be able to raise his hand from his side through most of a normal day. If the young emperor has found any advantage in his lifelong weakness, it must be in that, perforce, he has read much. Before he was 15, he had read every book in his father's library, some more than once. His sorcerous powers, learned initially from Sadric, are now greater than any possessed by his ancestors from many a generation. His knowledge of the world beyond the shores of Melnibonée is profound, though he has as yet little direct experience of it. If he wished, he could resurrect the Dragon Isle's former might and rule both his own land and the Young Kingdoms as an invulnerable tyrant. But his reading has also taught him to question the uses to which power is put, to question his motives, to question whether his own power should be used at all in any cause. His reading has led him to this morality, which, still, he barely understands. Thus, to his subjects, he is an enigma, and to some, he is a threat. For he neither thinks nor acts in accordance with their conception of how a true Melnibonéan, and a Melnibonéan emperor at that, should think and act. His cousin Ercun, for instance, has been heard more than once to voice strong doubts concerning the emperor's right to rule the people of Melniboné. "This feeble scholar will bring doom to us all," he said one night to Divendvar, lord of the Dragon Caves. Divendvar is one of the emperor's few friends, and he had duly reported the conversation, but the youth had dismissed the remarks as only a trivial treason, whereas any of his ancestors would have rewarded such sentiments with a slow and exquisite public execution. The emperor's attitude is further complicated by the fact that Ercun, who is even now making precious little secret of his feelings that he should be emperor, is the brother of Caimorl, a girl whom the albino considers the closest of his friends, and who will one day become his empress.